He's so angry. Every aggression he has is a macro-aggression. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. The choice but to get on. The mandate, you get it on now. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. Jessimae Peluso is back in studio. Max Pata's sitting to my left as well. I think me, Max Pata, and Dawson are going to see you guys in Dallas this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Along with John Popper playing live music, doing the Blues Brothers hit, Blues Travelers hits. I started to correct myself, but you beat me to it. Also, I'll be doing stand-up and meet and greets and all that stuff, so you can just go. And if you just want to come out to the concert on Saturday night, you can do that. Just go to AdamCarolla.com for that.
There's going to be a lot of live music this weekend.
Yes, Dawson's playing. You're playing.
Yeah.
You're playing with John Popper.
Yeah.
Right?
And then also you're showing some of the K-Rock documentary, too.
Oh, yeah, the K-Rock doc. Yeah, we'll do that as well. I don't know. Have you got the set list from John yet?
I got a few songs, yeah. I don't know if I want to give it away. Should I
All right. No. But I'm just so you're prepped.
You'll be happy.
All right. Sharp Tongue is the name of the podcast. That's Jessimae's podcast, wherever you listen to finer podcasts. All right. So, Jessimae, I have questions for you.
I have answers.
Good. I was watching the football game, and Tom Brady was, they're all talking about he may be retiring. And
again?
They're basing it, they're basing it off when he left the field, he kissed his mom and his dad.
Yeah.
Which I would say would be sort of decent son protocol, mid-season, preseason, rookie season.
Anytime they're in front of him.
It's supposed to do, just take your hat off and smack mom in the face with it and run to the locker room. Like, you greeted your mom and your dad. I don't know if that's an indicator that you're retiring, since all the dudes on the field, if they saw their mom and their dad in the first row, would come by and hug them and give mom a kiss. But so now Tom, they think this is it. Like they think he's retiring. He's not saying one way or the other. We're getting back to my Gisele Bündchen divorce thing. When everyone was going nuts, the guy's the oldest player in the NFL. I said to everyone at the time, if he doesn't retire this season, like they got divorced in August. If he doesn't retire at the end of this season, he'll retire at the end of next season. Like, he's out. It's the NFL. You can't play in the NFL in your mid-40s. He's the only, I mean, I don't know, Daryl LaMonica? I don't know. A couple of guys have done it. The Mannings, like Peyton Manning played as long as you could play, or Eli played about as long as you could play, and they were out at 38 and a half or something. You know, guys don't get to 40 in the league. So if you're married to, and your job is half the year, just literally half. You're like a LA Unified School District teacher. Like you're on to be like, you can't go teach English lit anymore. It's like, I don't work during the entire summer. The entire summer, I'm fucking flopped around this shitty apartment with your saggy ass. Like, what do you mean he's gone? Yes, he thinks about football. But I'm also saying, compared to what successful guys, like what international banker who's not in his 60s and going to Zurich every other weekend, like why did every woman on the planet know exactly what was going on and took Gisele's side and was outraged that this guy would have a career that went into his mid-40s?
I mean, the fact that we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but Gisele seems like quite the catch.
Yes.
She's very intelligent, speaks multiple languages, is financially independent, does not need him for much. And the fact that he fucked that up and then came back after he retired, and now he's going to retire again. And I saw the game last night. He was terrible.
He was terrible, but he has had flashes of terrible and then come right back and been, lights out. But I'm just saying, in theory, the reason you guys are getting a divorce, everything is great, the family's great, everything is great, but you're away doing this job half of the year and going to retire full time in 6 months or 18 months or whenever. We don't know, but this could be it. It can't be that as the basis for getting divorced. There must be more. There has to be more.
There's some skeletons in those closets. Is that what you're thinking?
Something is up.
He's gay.
Oh. Yes.
And it was and Gisele didn't want to be the one to say it. And she's like, you need to say it. and so he couldn't. And he kissed it. When he kissed his mom, did he do an open mouth kiss?
Oh yeah.
Was it? Did it linger on the mouth?
With his dad.
Yeah, how do you kiss
That's
his
what we
dad?
gotta. That what we
Maybe
gotta
that
look
was.
at.
That would be a great day for the gay world. I think he'd be an awesome.
Oh
gay
my
guy.
God, he could hammer those checks.
What if he
be like,
retires?
Lance Bass, hold my fucking
Yeah.
Miller Lite, bitch. I'm the new king of Gay Town.
He would get eaten up in what do they call it? West Hollywood. He would get told in
yeah.
WeHo.
Yes.
There would just be bones of Tom Brady left in the streets. It would just be a femur bone and like half of a football, like just the straps of the football.
He would be devoured like that 60 Minutes blonde reporter was when she went to Crete and stood amongst the Mujahideen, and was trying to report, and they all just jumped up. Laura, God, I'll think of her name. Anyway.
He's fucking up football and marriage. It's not looking good.
I'm just saying there's got to be a lot more there than he is not spending. And by the way, if she'd hung out with him and not got divorced, if it was only based on him being away playing football, yesterday was a home game. They lost. They're done. He would just return home at 10:30 at night, and then they'd be like, that's it.
They could ride
Right.
the same car home.
Dinner. Let's talk about the game, the plays. Like you're right. So if
He's done.
Right.
And I mean, he could look at game film or something, but would he? I mean,
No.
it's done. The season is over. He's going to be on the sofa.
Binge something on Netflix. That
Yes.
night. Yeah.
maybe he is what everyone assumes he is. He's so obsessed with football that it's very difficult to do anything else. Like, do you think he runs through plays with Giselle when he gets home?
Giselle thinks football is guys in shiny shorts kicking a ball, so she doesn't know shit about
Wait,
football.
it's not?
She's from a world where soccer reigns king or supreme. All right, another question for you. Got some more football stuff, but I don't know. I'll give it a break for a second. So I was watching The Love Boat last night, which I always do. I try to watch reruns of The Love Boat.
I thought, you're back.
I'm back. I took a
Wow.
little sabbatical.
Is this just to go down memory lane for you?
It's a sort of everyone I'm watching is probably dead. John Ritter starred in this one. Everyone's kind of at the height of their powers. It's this 33-year-old John Ritter.
He was great.
And then it's also a little snapshot of where we were as a society, because it's all the fashion, all the hairstyles, and all the jokes. The sensibility of our society was all captured because it was prime time. It was, I guess, Friday nights, like ABC, like real down the road, middle, like if you want to know the zeitgeist of 1980, watch an episode of Love Boat. You'll see everything you need to see, from jewelry to fashion to everything. John Ritter had to pretend to be a woman. He's 6'2". He's 190 pounds. He's like, oh, fresh. And there's always the thing about whenever a dude who's clearly a dude becomes a woman in any sitcom, there always has to be somebody like the doctor on the ship who's attracted to him. Like, what is this lovely creature? Like,
Where'd she come from with those calves?
she's taller than you and has 40 pounds on you, Doc. Like, are you just attracted to anything wearing kissing potion? Like,
I love hairy knuckles.
Is that what? So anyway, it brought me to this actor. This actor is named Dennis Cole. He was very hot in the late 70s, early 80s, mainly because he was so pretty. He was so beautiful that he just had to get work. That's the way TV used to work. We didn't want diversity. Our diversity is we have some hot people and some hotter people, that they're all white. And that's how we did it. And he was so good looking that he married, from Charlie's Angels, Jacqueline Smith, who was the best looking female at the time. I think we got a picture of those two.
The best looking white female, Adam. I'd like to correct you.
Yeah. There was the mom from What's Happening. That's true. We lost our signal. But anyway.
I saw for a second. He's a good looking dude.
He was so good looking, and the scripts were shit, so who cared if you could act back then. They literally must have met in 1980 and just went, you're the best looking male. I'm the best looking female. We should get married.
Right.
Yes.
So they got married, and it lasted for like 3 years. So a couple of things. He's very pretty. Like, he's not necessarily ruggedly handsome. We can find another picture of Dennis Cole. You just see how flawless he is physically. But
He looks like a retired Ken doll.
yes, is there such a thing as too pretty for a dude?
Oh, for sure. This is Los Angeles. This is the
Is he
homeland
too
of
pretty
that.
for you?
Yes. Yes.
Why?
The nose strikes me as very, very gentle. It's a gentle nose. I'm a Sicilian. I love a good beak. I need a nice strong beak on a guy. Also, I need your profile to be able to handle strong gusts of wind. And I'm not sure.
You want a guy who's going to go full Mary Poppins on your ass.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's going to fly away like a dry leaf in the wind. I need a strong man who looks set. Okay, now things have changed.
I don't know why we picked a weird picture
What?
of him.
Okay,
but
this is the same guy?
yeah, well, he's looked pretty beak,
I
pretty
think
yoked there.
Doesn't get
He
ready
looks
for
like
a
he's-
Marvel movie.
Let's find a nice, pretty headshot of Dennis Cole. That's all I'm saying.
That's like a Joe Rogan sauna shot.
Yes.
And I'm here for all of that.
Yeah, well, that's
Very
him
masculine.
working out with his shirt off, which is not looking at us, which is sort of distracting. But Ben will find a nice picture of him. The point is this: I was sitting around, and I thought, Dennis Cole. I think I've looked into him before. I knew he was married to Jacqueline Smith. Again, she was the sort of sensible Charlie's Angel. I started reading about him. Everyone ends up in Florida. Died of like pancreatic cancer when he was 69, 68, something 2009, blah blah blah. It's always sad. They go to Florida, then they die.
Yeah, they burn from the inside
But
out.
I mean, look how good looking this guy is.
It's giving William Dafoe meets a doll. The
Yes.
teeth are
Yeah,
way
perfect
too.
teeth.
Yes.
It looks like he got a set of teeth, and I don't trust those teeth. There's
All
a
right.
story, but there's a methy story behind those teeth.
Arguably beautiful, and you're right with the Ken doll analogy.
The hair is giving evangelical, like a Sunday Joel Osteen guy.
Yes.
He's a good boy.
So I'm reading about this guy, and then I'm always interested in like sons, daughters, like what did they get into? Did they get into acting? Did they get into performing and whatever? So the story is, and I don't know if anyone who has it in front of them, Dawson, you have the story in front of you. What happened to Dennis Cole's son in 1990?
Yeah, Dennis Cole's son was Joseph Dennis Cole. He was a writer and roadie for Black Flag and the Rollins Band, also Henry Rollins' best friend. In 1991 of December, Cole and lifelong best friend Henry Robbins were assaulted by were assaulted by armed robbers outside their shared Venice Beach, California home. They had attended a Hole concert at the Whiskey.
Hole in 1991.
Wow, now that's a band from
Yeah.
that era.
Returning home after having stopped at an all-night grocery store, two armed men, described as black and in their 20s, approached them demanding money. They got angry that Rollins and Cole only had $50 between them, so they ordered the two men to go inside their house for more cash.
All right, hold on one second. I don't want to explain etiquette about robbing people, but when you rob someone on the street, whatever they got on them, that's what you get.
Just take it.
We're going to go, where do you live? I want to take some furniture. Like, what? No, it's what I got in my pocket.
We'll
Those
jump
are
in
the
the back.
fucking rules.
I hear you have a nice chaise lounge on your patio.
Yeah. But is that a sun porch? Is that porch bolted down, or is that the kind of porch I could just take up and bring with us? Like, you don't get to take area rugs. You don't get to take plates and cutlery.
Do you have a NutriBullet? I haven't had a smoothie.
Got a George Foreman grill? That thing's got to be $30. Like, you get what they have. And I got to tell you, in 1991, first off, $50
Yeah.
in 91 for random dudes walking around at 1 a.m., that's over the over-under. The over-under in 1991 of random dudes walking around Venice Beach at 1 a.m. is probably $19. If you would have stopped me in 1991, I would have had either no cash on me or less than $7.
Yeah.
And then you would have walked back to my apartment with me, and there would have been fucking nothing there. Like, I got a can of Dinty Moore stew. What is that worth? So they hold him up. They get $50, which is good for 2 minutes work.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to level up your game on the streets. Like,
Yeah.
it's not up to us to give you more. You just got to be smarter in who you target.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like
Do some more work.
And what is your expectation? Like no gold ingots? No Fabergé eggs? This is insane. They're two scroungy punk rock dudes walking back to the dude's Venice, flop house. Oh, there they are. There's Henry Rollins. Now, do you know who Henry Rollins is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do know of him for sure. He rocks hard.
Yes, he rocks very
so
hard.
if you stop these guys and rob them, what are you expecting?
I mean, half a
in
smoke
91?
joint,
Yeah. Like
a butt,
half a pack of cigarettes, some like Mike and Ike's.
2 OV splits.
Yes. All right, but now we're going to go back to your apartment. And then when we go back to your apartment, I may just shoot you on the lawn.
Yeah, because there's going to be nothing in there.
What kind of upbringing are we talking about here for these guys? Sorry, you have the rest of the story, Dawson?
Rollins entered the apartment at gunpoint. However, Cole was killed outside after being shot in the face at close range, while Rollins escaped out the back door and alerted the police. The murder remains unsolved.
Now, thankfully, these guys are in their
Jesus.
50s and walking around. But first off, here's your wiring. I stop random dudes. I ask for money. I get money. I don't get enough money. I shoot them in the face on the lawn. Like,
It's a bad business plan.
Does it sound like there's like a struggle or something? I mean, did Cole try to make a move? Because it's just so unusual for like you already have all my stuff. You're in my apartment. You could take everything I own, and you're still going to shoot me in the face.
Poor planning and panicking. You're probably right.
it was not, they didn't say there was a struggle or anything.
They don't.
Then Henry Rollins did something kind of bizarre. I can't remember if that's in the story.
Henry Rollins dug up all the earth where his head fell. He was shot in the face. And he says, I got all the dirt here. And so Joe Cole's in the house. He's got a jar of bloody dirt. He says good morning to him every day. He has his phone, too, so he's got a direct line to him. He says that feels good.
Wow. That feels very on brand for Henry Rollins.
Yeah.
And I don't know him.
2001,
Yeah.
Howard Stern asked about rumors that that Henry Rollins kept Joe Cole's brain in his house. He stated that he only has the soil from the spot where Cole was killed. But then he says their possible motive for the crime is days prior to the incident, record producer Rick Rubin showed up in front of their house in a Rolls Royce, parked it right out front. So he thinks that because of the notoriety of the neighborhood, Rollins suspected this would bring trouble because of the implication that there was money in the home.
You can't roll around in Venice in the 90s in a Rolls Royce. That's reckless.
Yeah, this
you're
one's
just
on Rick.
asking to get targeted.
Yeah.
Like, there should be some accountability there. Park 3 blocks down, you asshole. Take it.
Yeah,
There's no
get that
Ubers.
person's house robbed.
Get
Yeah.
his van Uber. Get the lady from the other day.
Yeah. Anyway, just sitting around watching Love Boat, going, whatever would happen to that guy's kid? Shot in the face, never caught the guy, no reason, over $50. And by the way, that's 50 combined. His contribution could have been 20.
And so you just found out about this from going down memory lane watching Love Boat.
I had some kind of sneaky suspicion that I'd heard about it or seen it or discussed it or something, and so I had to take a deeper dive. But I did not know about the whole part where Henry Rollins collected the blood-soaked soil and put it in a jar and put it in the house.
That's heavy. That's a interesting element to having, I don't know, just mementos. I don't know.
Yeah, that's gross. Plant a tree with it or something. You know, just, and then say hello to the tree every day.
All right. I also fell in love with my idea of ranchera music playing people off.
Yeah.
And I said to Dawson, why don't we find some famous acceptance speeches and see how they would go if they implemented my idea back in the day of the ranchera music playing them off. So we have the Marlon Brando Little Feather when he had the Native American woman who turned out to be Mexican and never turned out to be Native American at all because this horse shit that we're doing now, it's been going on for 50 years.
Her
plus.
sisters sold her out, right? Like after she died or something.
Yeah, her sister is like, she's Mexican. We're from the San Fernando Valley, and we have no Indian blood in us.
years later after this woman died. She held on to the secret that long.
I think so. I'd probably sell my sister out if she did the same
Sure.
thing.
The next day, I'd be hitting up all the articles, all the websites, all the places.
All right, so we'll give it a try.
Yeah, that's a good speech.
Hello, my name is Sasheen Littlefeather.
Yeah, her name
I'm
is
Apache,
Margaret
and
Ochoa.
I'm president of the National Native American Affirmative Image Committee. I'm representing Marlon Brando this evening, and he has asked me to tell you in a very long speech, which I cannot share with you presently because of time, but I will be glad to share with the press afterwards, that he very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award. And the reasons for this being are the treatment of American Indians today by the film industry, and on television in movie reruns, and also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee. I beg at this time that I have not intruded upon this evening, and that we will, in the
Shut
future,
down. Yeah.
our hearts and our understandings will meet with love and generosity. Thank you on behalf of Marlon Brando.
I think it would be effective.
I think the only way it could be better, if at all, is if a mariachi band came up behind her.
Well, they should
Full
be
trumpets.
live. They should be live. I already
okay.
thought about that.
Solid.
Yeah, they need to be live, and then if you gesture at them or tell them to knock it off or something, then it's kind of a hate crime there. It's a cultural problem.
Oh, no, you have to let it keep playing.
Yeah. We thought, let's see.
Somebody just straight up booed her. When
The
she-
whole
know.
audience.
Like,
Yeah, I know.
Like, guys, just
simpler
boo-
times.
We've gotten soft.
I can't remember the last time I booed.
Should we have, you want to try Halle Berry or Lupita
Yes.
Nyong'o? Or
Halle Berry. I remember that speech.
Yeah, this
Let's
is
try Halle. Let's try and
It's on
see how
top
it would
of
work with
many
Halle
lists.
Berry.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. This moment is so much bigger than me. This moment is for Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne, Diane Carroll. It's for the women that stand beside me, Jada Pinkett, Angela Bassett, Vivica Fox, and it's for every nameless, faceless woman of color that now has a chance because his door tonight has been opened. Husband who cheated on her with many women stood up like he was so proud. He just was thinking about all the upgraded women were going to come his way from her status being elevated from winning the Oscar.
I love the fact that guys can cheat on anybody.
It is
that's
pretty-
that's our superpower.
It's amazing.
Yes, we can. Oh God,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer. But who was I interviewing as her husband?
What's his name from Johnny Five?
Yeah, Short Circuit.
Short Circuit. Yeah.
Oh shit, I'll think of his name
Yeah.
in a second. He had a last name for a first name and a first name for a last name. It just escaped me. We'll figure it out. But the point is if Halle Berry can be cheated upon by a struggling musician or whomever, you're
Fisher Stevens.
Fisher Stevens. That's right. That's right. He had a last name, had a first name for a last name, and a last name for a first name. Yeah, Fisher. Nice guy. But if you can cheat on Michelle Pfeiffer at the height of her powers, or Halle Berry at the height of her powers, then Jessimae, you don't stand a chance.
I don't stand a chance. I never thought I stood a chance. I think, you just got to go into it with the lowest expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're all, I don't know what would feel worse, like being cheated on with someone like Giselle Bündchen or the girl who's at the...
I know.
I know you're talking about.
Like, she's hot enough. Do I need to say her name right? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't know
you're
how
right.
to say it.
She's hot enough. You're right.
Giselle Bündchen.
Okay, well,
There's like umlauts or something.
Like being cheated on with someone like her being the girl, or some girl who runs like the register at a Wawa. I don't know what would feel worse. Probably the girl at the Wawa.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're dating Michelle Pfeiffer, I mean, more opportunities are presenting themselves to you, I think, right? Like Fisher Stevens just...
Yeah, it's a status symbol.
The Pete Davidson effect.
All right, maybe we'll try... Should we try...
The Will Smith slap?
We'll try Lupita Nyong'o.
We could have saved Chris Rock.
Want to try one more? Let's see how it works out.
Thank you to the Academy for this incredible recognition. It doesn't escape me for one moment that so much joy in my life is thanks to so much pain in someone else's. And so I want to salute the spirit of Patsy for her guidance. And for Solomon, thank you for telling her story and your own. Steve McQueen, you charge everything you fashion with the breath of your own spirit. Thank you so much for putting me in this position. It is
like going table to table.
Oh, for sure.
The mariachi. They start strolling out there. Maybe there's a girl selling flowers.
Great idea.
That interrupts her speech. It was like $8. She's like,
maybe some desserts are available as well. There's some homemade flan and women with the big dresses, the beautiful dresses they wear, spinning and twirling.
I think all flan is homemade. I've never had.
That's a very controversial thought.
I've never had canned flan. It's not like that shitty canned flan we used to get in prison.
You can't say flan. That's a microaggression.
This is shit Mama used to make. All right, let me tell you about BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes life bogs you down. You feel overwhelmed. You need to work with a therapist, and it can help you get closer to a better version of yourself. Look, if there's anything we've learned over the last couple of years, you got to get your head right. And get your body right, get the rest of your life right. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. If you're thinking about therapy, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. You just fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime at no additional charge. But let's take care of ourselves in 2023. Let's get some BetterHelp, right, Dawson?
If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can help get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/Carolla today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Carolla.
All right, I got some commercials to make fun of, some more thoughts on the NFL, and we'll do all that right after this.
And now, Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, Hardwick, Vermont. 2 state police officers were endangered trying to arrest a 24-year-old man for assault when the suspect charged at them with an excavator. Definitely not a Jew.
All right, lots more to go. There's a couple of commercials that are bugging me. The reason commercials bug me and the reason I watch commercials in 2023 is because there's lots to be learned. Present day from commercials, days of yore, you watch The Love Boat. You want to know where we were? You watch The Love Boat. You want to know where we're at? You watch commercials, and they'll give you a little snapshot. And one of the commercials they run the shit out of, especially during the NFL, is the Domino's one where somebody is anointed to be a superhero because that superhero is going to go pick up the pizza. And you're now raised to superhero status if you're pry your fat ass off a beanbag chair and march it down to the Domino's and then do your $8 pizza with your fucking carb loading with your other fat friends that are hanging around watching TV all day. You're now actually a superhero, according to Domino's. We'll show you the spot. I don't know if you've seen it, but...
At Domino's, we're tipping you $3 for ordering carryout online. Because we appreciate those heroes who rise. And go get it.
Be right back.
Someone who always picks up the pizza, no matter what stands in their way.
It's a pull, sweetie.
Of course. I knew that.
We see you, carry out heroes. And to say thank you, we're
Now,
taking you
listen,
$3 to use.
It's tongue in cheek, but we see you carry out heroes. This thing of throwing around hero and bravery and all this kind of stuff, we're playing way too fast and loose with the hero. She's brave. Halle Berry is brave for taking on this acting role, blah, 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 blah. We're spreading it way, way too thin. All the essential workers that work through COVID, they're all heroes. They're all brave. Like first off, if everyone's a fucking hero and everyone's brave, then nobody's a hero and nobody's brave. We have to reserve that for guys who charge German machine gun nests and throw their body on grenades and shit like that, or Norma Ray or Harriet Tubman, whoever it is. Like we can't have that many heroes. Like we can't let everyone in the NFL doesn't get into the Hall of Fame. It's a Hall of Fame. It's a Hall of Fame for a reason. There's a handful of guys. There's a vetting process, and 5 or 6 are inducted every year after a long argument and big-time stats. They can't just let the fucking ball boy and the long snapper into the Hall of Fame. Otherwise, the Hall of Fame doesn't mean jack shit.
That's what's happening to everything, though.
Yes.
I mean, that's a good point. The hero has become diluted.
Yeah.
Like the war hero, now this guy is getting up off his fat ass to go get pizza.
Right.
So those two people are in the same
They're heroes.
category.
American heroes.
That's what they're saying. That's a subliminal message.
I was out front of a Jimmy John's sandwich shop
Hero.
like 3 months ago.
You're already a hero.
And there was a sign out front that said, "We're now hiring rock stars." And I'm like, we're in West Covina at a strip mall. My daughter's playing volleyball 2 miles away, and she's dispatched me to go get her a sandwich. I don't think any legitimate rocks. I don't think Pete Townsend would sign up over there.
Don't
I
speak
don't
too
think
soon.
Slash would.
It's a rough economy for everybody.
I'm just saying.
Music industry took a hit.
Stop calling everyone a fucking hero and a superstar and an all-star and bravery, and it's just getting thrown around way too fast, way too loosely.
I can see how it's like a tactic for businesses to get people to work because nobody wants to work now. So you need to like placate to their.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. But at some point, the rubber meets the road. Like you go, rock star? Man, I thought I was an unemployable 19-year-old, but okay. Rock star status it is. And then you show up for your first day and the guy hands you a fucking toilet brush. He's like, go clean the head. You're like, wait a minute, I'm a rock star. Yeah, who cleans the fucking urinals?
And scoops tuna.
Well, you got to weigh it, then you scoop it. Yeah, you haven't even worked your way up to scooping tuna, bro. No. You're cleaning that toilet.
Yeah, you're going to clean the toilet to earn your way up to have people tell you the toppings they want on their sandwich.
Right. That'll be mega star status when people are telling you extra provolone.
I'm sure this is what Gaga's doing right now.
Yes, empty the trash while you're walking to the bathroom.
Yeah, she's picking out pepperoncinis for some lady named Sally, grabbing a sandwich.
I don't like it. The other commercial that they just started running during the NFL is, I think it's iPhone, and it's this mom who's the worst mom in the world. And the reason she's a horrible mom is her son, it's an iPhone 14 commercial. Her son is in some sort of international 11-year-old foot race. I don't know what it is.
We all did that, right?
We all did it. No one is wearing shorts, running shoes. They don't have numbers on them. I don't know what this event is. It's right up there with Karate Kid, the All Valley karate tournament where you get points deducted for a kick to the thigh, but no points deducted for a heel to the bridge of the nose. Like, I don't know what this is.
It's like the kids' Squid Game.
This game has not been invented yet, but there's a running race.
They're all wearing hoodies.
That the school is putting on. There's a couple of white kids, the black kid, the Hispanic kids, the usual mixed bag of nuts of races that have to then race against their fellow race. And the fat-ass mom shows up late to the event. The race, they're about to... I don't even know if you have a starter's pistol anymore. That's too
offensive.
too aggressive.
For something like
that's
this?
aggressive.
That's a microaggression at least. But The race is about to begin. All the other parents, the responsible parents, are in line, standing close to the edge of the race course, which is 2 blocks straight away. But the lazy mom with the iPhone 14, she shows up milliseconds before the race starts because she's late. And then she barrels her way to the front. Like she's like, hey, honky, out of the way. I'm here now. And she pushes everyone out of the way and she goes right to the front to film her kid. But it's like, hey, bitch, you showed up last. Yeah. You get in the fucking back. So anyway, she shows up. We'll show it to you. Muscles her way to the front, pushing people out of the way, sees her kid, then proceeds to run in front of all the other moms and dads who got there before her fat ass did. She's running through there. She's knocking people out of the way. She's stepping in puddles and splashing them on their way.
She's quick, by the way.
She's quick. I want to say this. Your morbidly obese middle-aged mom just beat you to the finish line with her iPhone 14. That means laterally. Your speed leaves. You're not going to the NFL.
No,
as the kid. But she shows up late, gets in front of everyone, and then runs in front of everyone, knocking people over and splashing. That's a bitch of a mom. Yes. She's irresponsible. Yeah. And we wouldn't have made those commercials in the past because we would have went, well, what's she doing?
Yeah, why is she late?
She's not allowed to run in front of all the people that got there who were sober, who showed up early to support their children.
Right. The better commercial would have showed the events leading up to why she wasn't on time for her kid.
That's right.
Why wasn't the dad or the other mom there?
Where is the dad?
Where is the other parent?
Where's the other parent?
Or at least a babysitter or somebody.
You're right.
It's some bullshit.
That's some bullshit.
It's some real, and then maybe show what happened afterwards. The parents fighting and videotaping each other. That would be more realistic.
That's right.
Just a full-out brawl.
And the parent that just, got a new pair of slacks ruined because this big cow went barreling down the sideline and stepped. Yeah.
What asshole put a kids relay race near mud?
I know. It's not a tough mutter. It's just a running event.
Yeah, and why are we in the parking lot of like a Costco? Where it didn't even look like they were in a school.
Yeah.
This felt very, very shady.
I cry foul. Situation. I don't think that was a real event.
I don't think it's regulated.
I don't think it was real regulated at all.
That's what I'm saying. All right. The other thing I wanted to think about, Dawson, you could probably help me out. I do have my inventions every once in a while, and I was thinking about my Ranchera music. I was thinking it would be a good app. Now, listen, I'm no coder. I don't know about computers or whatever, but someone could invent an app where, like, let's say you talk to that family member who just doesn't say anything and keeps going in circles, or that ditzy friend of yours who's never stops talking about how her cat thinks it's a person. We have those people in our lives. Or the circle talkers that keep saying, like, you know what I mean, or at the end of the day, or something like that. What about an app that once it heard some of those buzzwords, it just started, just the Ranchera music, just started playing them off?
I'm investing.
Would you invest in that?
I'm already investing.
Like,
I've Zelled you.
You play the ditzy chick I've gone out on 3 dates with, who wants to call me and talk about nothing, and we'll see, Dawson, if we can get this app to work.
So I was.
Hold on. Bring. Hello.
Hi. Do you miss me?
Oh, Rebecca, right?
Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea. You're right.
That's okay.
That's going to be my second guess.
Yeah, you're busy. Anyways, I have this weird rash. And remember when I told you that I was allergic to pesto at the dinner last night?
Yeah. I don't know. I've never met anyone who's allergic to pesto.
Well, that's offensive because it's actually a national epidemic right now. And
pesto?
Yes. And you're being very selfish for not considering my feelings.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have a huge rash, and I just was wondering if you could go to the store and get me something so that I can heal and also know that you care about me.
Because you're allergic to pesto?
Yes, I'm allergic to pesto.
Isn't that just like olive oil and...
It's there's a lot of ingredients in it, and it's a situation that has made me feel very, very vulnerable.
The pesto situation.
Yeah, and I also was thinking,
Dawson, is this a thing we're gonna do? Or?
Waiting for the code words. Waiting for a will do. All I hear is pesto.
At the end of the day. I'm not saying will. I'm not. That's a different app.
You did mention that when a series of these colloquialisms play, and all I've been hearing about is pesto.
Fair.
You're asking
solid.
a lot of Jessimae.
Solid.
My bad.
Solid. He's right.
I was invested.
Anyways,
pesto.
At the end of the day, pesto makes me very itchy, and I just thought, like, as a supportive guy in my life, that you could. I think it would too.
Yeah.
Or maybe it could work where. Now, Dawson, we don't need code words. It's just when stuff's going on, a little too uncomfortable. Maybe it would work where, like, everyone's got that shitty neighbor who lives in their building who tells them one thing and then just keeps going. Like the people, they go, hey, listen, we all share the same trash can in this building, and when you leave the lid up, sometimes feral cats or something will get into it. You know what I mean? So could you just shut the lid? And then you go, yeah, got it. They go, yeah, because there's a lot of cats. And you go, yeah, I'll shut the lid. I was, sort of in a hurry. Yeah, because once the cats get hold of it, it's like, I'm well, all right, don't do it to me. Let's see. Jessimae, you tell me about, you be the shitty chick in 3B who's telling me about the trash can.
Okay.
Dawson, you use your spidey sense.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, neighbor.
Did you get some sleep last night?
Yeah.
Anywho, I saw you were out and putting trash in the trash can, and I just wanted to remind you, I don't know if you got my text message at 2 a.m. where I text the whole blockchain.
I didn't get it till the morning. But,
I did text everybody, and it makes it easier for y'all to respond about the trash. The trash cans, yes. So you do know. So you might have seen the text.
I'll shut the lids.
Yeah,
I'll shut it.
There's just raccoons and cats and opossums.
Yeah.
There's a lot of creatures.
Every time now I shut it.
There's a lot of diseases. There's that lepto disease going around, and I just don't want to have to send you a bill for that.
Yeah, I'll shut the lid.
But the cats are an issue, and also the raccoons. So you really need to just check the email and the text message. It has all the information. But if you could just shut the lid of the trash can and not keep it open, that'd be great.
Yeah, I got you.
Opossums carry a lot of diseases. Do you want to come over later?
Yeah, but I'm bringing the app in case there's pillow talk.
Do you want to get Uber Eats later? Anyways, will you just go out there and check the trash can?
I'll shut it from this day hence.
Could you shut it and just respond to my text so I know that you got it?
I know. I should go.
Could you shut the trash can and respond to my text? Is that Ranchera music?
I do love the fucking lapper. I love the we're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
I said I would shut the fucking lid, bitch, 8 minutes ago, but you're gonna keep telling me about what could happen. All right, so that was my app idea I wrote down.
I like how all your apps are conversational, like they're based on conversations. So the Will Do app and then this one.
Yeah.
You kind of just want things
Dawson,
to end.
flare it up again, would you, for when Chris wants to talk?
Flare it up!
Pot it up. Go ahead, Chris. What were you telling me about my app ideas?
Yeah, just all your apps are based on you.
Yeah. I got to hear it.
What?
But yeah, they're all based on you talking about
I see your mouth moving. Yeah. I'll get the lids down. I got it.
What would you do, honestly, if I came to one of your shows?
And I was telling a joke.
Fucking Ranchero'd you so hard.
I was like, oh, man. Let me tell you, it's like having twins out there. Man, anyone else? Anyone else with twins? Anybody? Nobody.
You should do the Ranchero in the middle of his joke.
I got boy-girl twins. Let me tell you, man, the difference between raising boys and girls, boy, I'll tell you, man, they don't give you a handbook when you come home from the hospital. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you, say, raising the girls like raising 3 kids. Raising the boys like raising one old cat. Am I right? Did anyone have twins? Nobody? Or boy, I guess if you don't have twins, you can't have boy-girl twins. Doug Benson's coming up in a few. They're lighting me. Hitting the light. So anyway, a little more due on twins.
I'd be mad if that happened one day.
Oh yeah.
Would you? Or
no,
would you laugh?
I would say touche.
Cool.
I'd say turnabout is fair play. Maybe it could be used in all redundant speech settings, like when you get on the airplane and you're sitting there and they go, Your lap belt must be worn at all times, tightly fastened about your hips and waist for not only takeoff and landing, but in flight for your safety in case we hit unexpected rough air. Now, there's no smoking, and that includes e-cigarettes and chewing tobacco in the lavatory. Tampering with this. Dawson, are we coming in or no? Are we not getting this?
Maybe during the Miranda rights.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Beta. It's still in beta. We're dialing.
Wait, are you capable of coming in?
Yeah, I'm there.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law.
Did you just tune out in the middle of it, or what happened? What were you looking at?
We all know.
Yes, I was looking for other Ranchera music and not paying attention.
All right. Well, we're doing a bit over here, Dawson. Here we go.
My bad.
Okay. All right. Now we'll do the cop. You ready, Dawson? Now don't come in too early just because I goosed you. All right. Okay, man. What I'm gonna need you to do for me right now is go ahead, okay, and give me your license and registration. Okay, right now I'm gonna go ahead and ask you to produce your license and registration for me right now, okay, right now?
Sure.
So I'm just going to go ahead and ask you to reach in your glove box and produce your license, registration, and a current ID. And also what I'm going to need you to do for me right now, okay, is go ahead and proof of insurance, okay, right now? And, man, the reason I pulled you over is because you were doing 41 in a school zone, okay, right now? So I don't know if you think speeding is a joke, but I don't think it's funny. And what I'm going to need you to do for me, okay, right now, is go ahead and turn down the Ranchera music. Okay. All right. I think it has a universal application.
The okay right now killed me. That's what really hurt.
Extra cop talk.
Okay right now.
Could you go ahead for me, okay, right now? How about you just say license and registration? That was the funniest. I always remember being at TSA in Southwest, and the guy's like, go ahead and turn around for me, okay, right now? And I start to turn around, and he goes, real quick. First off, how long is this? I'm half revolved. I'm moving. Real quick. If I did it real quick, he would tackle me. That's if I jumped up and landed the other direction, I feel like I'd be maced.
You're trying to just get me is what's happening. Trying to trap me.
Maybe we could use it when my mom and my stepdad would come over and want to talk about muffins and like a new bakery they found. Like my mom would be like, I'd be like, yeah, I'm writing for the Oscars again this year. And she'd go, okay, we found a bakery off of Fairfax that has banana muffins that are good banana muffins, not the store-bought kind. John, don't they bake them fresh? Yeah, they bake them fresh. Now, if banana muffins aren't your thing, they have bran muffins, they have blueberry muffins. I think they even have an everything muffin. Now, I know they have everything bagels, but this is an everything muffin. Which, John, it doesn't have caraway seed, is it? No, I think it's the bran muffin, the banana muffin, and the blueberry muffin, and they make it into one giant muffin. Yeah, and I think the way we'd have to do it is you'd have to put your phone on the table and always have your earbud in.
Yeah, well,
or would we drown them out with the phone? Would we shame them with the phone?
They know?
I think it's more fun that they're oblivious to the ambient music playing and they're just bulldozing through it. To me, that's more fun.
We could use the science of noise cancellation. The Ranchera music could display the exact opposite frequencies of that person's voice and then drown them out because the sound waves would cancel each other out.
We'd have to put some keywords in there because, I could be talking to Mark Garagos or Dr. Drew about something important. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say, I think we could do things like this. Like, let's say you're one of those chicks who went to work, who hated the chick at work, and would always come back home at the end of the day and tell her boyfriend what Veronica did today. And she's so full of herself and she thinks she's so hot. I think we would hear... No, hold on. I think we would hear
Dawson's on it.
the key word. I think it'd be like work, let me discuss my day with you.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what Veronica did? She thinks she's so hot. Like if we heard little things like that, we could, let me explain. Let me tell you what happened on Below Deck Tahiti. You know what I mean? Like we put certain words in there, like Real Housewives of Orange County. Like if I heard Housewives, Orange County name. All right, let's try it. You tell me what that bitch Veronica's up to.
Are we ready?
I'm like lunch meat, baby. I'm always ready.
So, can I tell you about my day at work today, babe?
Yeah.
Do you have some space? Can you hold some space for
Oh,
me?
yeah. I'm just going to keep cooking and looking down, but I'm listening.
That's great. So, Veronica.
Oh, yeah.
How I have issues with her.
Right.
She always comes in with that low-cut shirt, and she thinks she's so hot. First of all, that's inappropriate in the workplace.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the generation of Me Too, and she should know she's just asking for it.
Yeah,
like, you need to, be an ally. Anyways, so she just stands by the water fountain, and I know she farted, but she blamed it on me. And I thought that was, really inappropriate, because it's like, oh, you come in, you act so hot, no one's going to think you're doing it, and just because you and I have, this weird competition, I thought women were supposed to be on each other's team.
All right. We're done. All right, listen, it's in the R&D phase, but I think there's something here.
I also think you should toss in the hat of scenarios, eulogies. Just
eulogies.
Because I'm sure you've been to funerals. When the immediate family gets up and talks, and that's expected. But then when the priest or whoever, whatever the religious representative is, goes, would anybody else like to say something?
They open the floor.
Right.
You can't open the floor at a fucking funeral, because I don't care what the dog walker lady wants to say. Then you let all these adjacent people in.
Yeah.
That's when you could really use the ranchero.
All right, I'll see what I can do.
So you should be the guy. I'll be the priest, and you be the.
All right, go ahead.
Well, thank you. It was nice hearing from Mrs. Johnson, who just recently lost her husband. That's terrible, and the whole family. So we're gonna take a brief moment to open the floor up to anybody else who'd like to.
Yeah, I got.
Oh, okay. And what's your relationship?
Well, we went to high school, and I know that was 51 years ago. Sorry, let me just get the mic away from you. Thanks. Dan and I played freshman softball together, and although we didn't really keep in touch over the years, I knew Dan had what I call it. And I know you guys are saying he works at a waste facility.
Eulogy is the real seller.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe, Dawson, here's some work for you.
Oh, it's so funny. It'd be a great sketch.
Maybe every time Kamala Harris speaks, like every time, put the app in that when she's talking about loving Venn diagrams or talking about the climate, if she starts, it just pours in. All right, let's see if Dawson can pull this one off.
I think of this moment as a moment that...
All right, we've milked that one dry.
I haven't had enough, but done. Fair.
All right, Calley Means is going to join us. He's a really interesting guy. I saw him on Tucker Carlson. We played his clip. He used to work for Coca-Cola and other companies, talked about the whole sort of weird shakedown of all these groups that claim to care, and then just the basic poisoning of our youth and our society, and how fat they are and how unhealthy they are. And there's like an article coming out every day, which is, it turns out people who are in better shape fared much better with COVID and stuff. And I was screaming, we could have got this message across. Fauci could have brought it up. Rochelle Walensky could have brought it up. Everyone could have brought it up. We had a moment. Once in a while, Bill Maher would bring it up and get shouted down, like, hey, if you're in better shape. Are we trying to save people from COVID, or are we fucking not? But either way, Calley's got a lot of thoughts on this, and he's a whistleblower, and it's interesting. So we'll talk to him right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey, Adam. Jeff here. For these long volleyball odysseys, you're just going to have to start doing meth. I've just been thinking about it. Just for the weekend. It'll get you through. Just good luck, buddy.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Calley Means is our guest. He's the co-founder of True Medicine. Also, a book coming out in the nearish future, but we'll see if we can figure out a date on that. TrueMedicine.care is where you can go to learn more. So I saw you in Tucker Carlson, and I was impressed. And it's a subject that just irks the shit out of me, that all roads lead to health, and yet we're working on all the spokes and not the hub. The hub is health, and COVID and obesity and diabetes and depression and everything else, joint replacement, everything is just off the hub, but we'll never go near the hub. It's all the end of the spoke around the rim.
I've become obsessed with this question. And, I really liken it to my mom. I think it's a very standard American story. I was born overweight. She had gestational diabetes. It's like, oh, that's normal. Here's a drug. And then she has high cholesterol, takes a statin. Oh, that's a rite of passage. 30% of people over 40 are on a statin. Then metformin and high glucose and all of these warning signs, and we drug them and we profit from them. And that's how the system makes money. 95% of healthcare spending is after you get sick.
Just lay your background out for a second real quick before we go further into the story.
Yeah, so I'm dedicated. I'm convinced this devil's bargain between food and health, where we're being poisoned by our food, and the healthcare system's profiting that and staying silent, is the biggest issue we face. And it goes back to my early career in politics. I was ideological. I was on campaigns, and inevitably you get into consulting. Both parties, you finish the campaign, and you're inevitably across the table from pharma and food companies and seeing inside the rooms. And a lot of people, I think, stay quiet on that because that's kind of the game. But I was disgusted by that. And over the previous, past couple of years, particularly with some life events, my mom eventually dying of pancreatic cancer, which actually is tied to food. 90% of people with pancreatic cancer have prediabetes or diabetes, which is totally related to food. And I think we're being distracted. I mean, right now, just this week, we have the gas stove situation. It's like we're talking about gas stoves when the food being cooked on that stove. 25% of kids have diabetes, prediabetes. 50% of American adults have prediabetes or diabetes. So it's like we're being systematically gaslit. I'm an entrepreneur now. I'm working to change those incentives. But it really takes me back earlier in my career working for soda companies, working for the pharma companies, because there's a playbook. And the playbook is to rig institutions of trust, and it's to distract.
So I spoke to Dr. Drew this morning, thinking about having this conversation with you, and I hearkened back to a conversation we used to have more than 25 years ago now, in the mid or later 90s. And he was saying, and everyone was talking about the opioid epidemic, and he would say to me, I have patients that are on 90 Vicodin a day. And I have other guys that are taking 50 Vicodin a day, and it's not unheard of to have people take 30 all day, every day, And I'm just a dude from the Valley, work construction, no education at all. And I just said, well, that sounds like a windfall for the pharmaceutical companies. And he said, oh, no, they don't want that. And I said, well, look, if you're producing pills, you're not going to make any money off of me on Vicodin. I'm not into Vicodin. And, every 7 years I get an oral surgery and I get a prescription for Vicodin. I eat 4 of them. And we're done with the Vicodin. You couldn't possibly exist as a pharmaceutical company if I was your client, because I don't eat enough Vicodin. And let's not even call it Vicodin. Let's just say tamales, or if I only went to Kookaroo Chicken or El Pollo Loco, if I only went there every 7 years, they'd be out of fucking business. They're in the business of turning and churning and burning. And about it was like 25 years ago, and Drew would go, no, they don't want that. They don't want that. And I'd go, why not? They're a business. That's what they do. They move units, And of course, he fought it bitterly because he was sort of ideological, and he thought, no, they're doing the right thing, and people want the right thing. And we're kind of talking about it as it pertains to Pfizer and COVID and vaccinations. Like, what the fuck is the government getting involved with Twitter for, taking down dissenting voices on getting your 5-year-old vaccinated when you don't need your 5-year-old vaccinated? And I was like, it's a business. It's units. That's what it is. The difference now, I guess, is they're fully in with the government and big tech and everything else. But He then said, yeah, I was wrong. It's about units. No different than cigarette companies hiring experts to tell you that that tell you nicotine is not addictive. Like it's a racket. That's what it is. I wonder why more people don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's very disheartening, and you've been talking about this. It's like crazy, everything's screwed. But I actually think it's an empowering message. I think we should all embrace, that we've been gaslit to trust the science, trust the system, and we really shouldn't. We should be asking questions. And yeah, in the past 25 years, every drug for a chronic condition, which is 95% of medical spending, the condition's gone up. More statins, more heart disease, more metformin, more diabetes, more SSRIs. 25% of the United States right now is on some kind of mental health medication. And depression and suicide is off the charts. Now we have this miracle cure for obesity. And just going into the incentives a little bit, you mentioned opioids. Back, 2011, 2012, the opioid debate was very, very hot too. And I remember in a PR office in Washington, D.C., there was a list of professors for the pharma clients. And the donation strategy to universities, to research universities, is run by consultants. And there was a blue ribbon panel for opioids around that time to give guidance. The head of that was the dean of Stanford Med School, pain specialist. And they recommended for more lenient standards in opioids. Pfizer, one of the biggest opioid makers, gave a $4 million donation to the school that year. And the majority of people he appointed to that board were directly paid by opioid makers. So that's kind of how you have it. It's rigging the institutions. It's high up as Stanford, Harvard. The foundational nutritional research that said sugar doesn't cause obesity, which has led to trillions of dollars of healthcare costs, was a Harvard study paid for by sugar. This is happening to today, but it's rigging those systems. And then the NIH and Dr. Fauci, they're all appointing outside experts to do drug approvals, to do research requests. And the companies are really able to get in there. They think they're good people, I think, in their heads, but this is a system. They're out of a job if more people aren't sick.
82% of independently funded studies show harm from sugar. Like, no shit, right. Grandma knew that. That's 82, that's independently funded. 93% of industry-sponsored studies said no harm. So that's all you need to know. Who's paying for the study? I've said it a million times. Mark Garagos will sit right where you sit, and when he's doing a case, he hires an expert. He hires a ballistic expert that says, my client couldn't have shot this guy because there's no way that .44 bullet could have traveled further than 9 feet. And you're like, what? And he's like, that's an expert. He's a ballistics expert. He's a ballistics expert who's being paid to tell a story on Mark's client's behalf. That's how it works.
We still fall for. I mean, it's unimpeachable, right? It shuts down the debate when you see the news on both sides of the aisle when there's a peer-reviewed study. And I can just tell you from experience, those peer-reviewed studies from elite institutions are public relations documents. Coke spends 11 times, and food companies, more on research than the NIH. And I think we're being asked to believe this ridiculousness, right? We're literally being asked to believe that these corporations are spending billions of dollars on studies, direct payments to research, and that they're doing that out of this philanthropic goodwill to advance unbiased research. I can tell you that's not the case, and we need to wake up.
Wasn't there just a study about Fruit Loops being healthier than beef?
Yeah. Yes. And this nice. Is so this I'm never been a big Twitter guy, but tweeted that out, got a ton of attention, and Fox News started covering it. And I give credit to Fox News. 50% plus of news spending for most networks is pharma or food, and they're not touching any of these stories.
Well,
and that would be funny if it wasn't the preeminent nutritional research right now in the United States, funded by the NIH, also directly funded by food companies, and that's going into children's nutrition policies. It's unconscionable.
Yeah, what I was saying to Dr. Drew is, look, I get what Coke is doing, and I get what Nabisco is doing. I get what everyone who has a shingle hung out in Battle Creek, Michigan, Kellogg's, I get what they're doing. I get what they're doing. And I kind of get what the government guys are doing because they're getting paid, and the studies and all that kind of shit. Where are all the useful idiots coming from? What is CNN doing? Why did they become shills and useful idiots for all the fucking nonsense? What are you people doing who the Great Barrington Declaration, they pulled all these virologists off the internet because they're dangerous. You don't want to look into that because they're saying something different than Fauci is saying? Does that seem suspicious? Like, this couldn't work without the useful idiots. It takes tons and tons of people who've never heard of ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine to become overnight experts on it and then bloviate about how dangerous it is. They know nothing. Where did all the useful idiots come from? That's my question. What's CNN doing? What are all the Los Angeles Times? When did they all become experts?
Yeah, I think the biggest story, in my opinion, in the country right now is this Ozempic, this miracle obesity cure. And I think it gives a perfect case studies of the tactic I've seen. So,
the one with the song?
Yeah. And that's for the diabetes. And now there's a full-on, all-out affront to make that approved for obesity for children as young as 12. Now, 40% of people between 5 and 12 are now obese. And they're outwardly
5 and 12.
5 and 12.
And they're going to medicate them.
And the American, so let's go through it real quick. So the American Academy of Pediatrics, the useful idiots, I think I really feel for most people, they defer to institutions of trust. The American Academy of Pediatrics credentials pediatricians is the gold standard. It's on the website. It's right there. They are majority funded by pharma. They came out and said that obese 12-year-olds should have this new shot. It's once a week, and you have to take it for the rest of your life.
Yes, listen, CDC, Fauci, the pediatrics experts, the 51 Intel agent experts who signed a letter saying that Biden laptop was had all the earmarks of Russian collusion. They're fucking lying, everybody. Just listen to me. I know you trot these guys out and cite these guys all the time because that's the game. That's how it's rigged. Wake up. You have to understand what's happening.
And it's funny, Davos is happening right now. And I think the pull of the club, it really, I've actually gotten emails from prominent academics. And I'm just some tech bro calling this out. From prominent, I won't name them, but academics saying, we know similar people from Harvard and Stanford, and, I know some of your investors, and, you don't want to upset the apple cart kind of threat type thing. I'm going to talk to them. And I think there's this, people want to be invited on their, CNN contract. They have mortgages to pay. And there's a lot of defense in their mind that this is working. And I think everyone can kind of go to sleep at night. But the fact is, when you have a nutrition study funded by processed food companies saying Lucky Charms is 3 times healthier than eggs, that is leading to the 25% prediabetes rate for children. That's cellular dysfunction. Like you think about like these public policy debates we're arguing, it's like literally the cells in our children are like malfunctioning at like an exponential rate. They're eating 100 times more sugar than they did 100 years ago. And it's like, we're just turning a blind eye to that because of the financial incentives.
One of the things that drives me nuts is every person I talk to who lost weight says 2 things. If you don't see them for 9 months and then you go, oh man, you lost some weight. How'd you do that? They go, stop drinking soda. That's number one.
Yep.
Started walking.
My friend Marty Caproni, too, said same thing. Stop drinking soda, and that worked for him.
Paisan, yeah. Stop drinking soda, start walking. They all start with I stopped drinking soda, and then later on they start telling about some exercise. But stop drinking soda. Now, soda is the number one item purchased with food stamps, which freaked me out because I would have thought Velveeta cheese or something. I wouldn't even thought about a liquid, but sugary drinks, soda, whatever, which is just a way to get fat without being satiated. Like you get all the fat, you never feel full, but you get all the calories. It's the number one item purchased with food stamps. Now, you get into this world, and this is the problem. The problem is if I say you can't buy soda with food stamps, then people look at me and go, oh, so you're racist? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, if it's affecting young black and brown kids, no, I'm actually an advocate for them because they have diabetes when they're 13. It comes down to the same shit as like school choice. Like, I don't want the mobbed up teachers unions. I want the poor black kid from the inner city to have school choice and voucher. And they go, oh, you're racist. It's like, wait a minute, you got this backwards. I'm the one who wants school choice. I'm the one who doesn't want diabetes. But you trot out the racist card, and they know it works, and they shut everyone down. They shut down the debate.
they dupe the right on that. So you have the right, when we're talking about food stamps, saying that's patriarchal, that's the nanny state. It's like we're funding it $10 billion of government money, sugar water, that is directly going to trillions of dollars of downstream medical costs. So I'm all for the free markets. But when, first of all, the corn that turns into high fructose corn syrup in that Coke is heavily subsidized, right? Tens of billions of dollars. That turns into high fructose corn syrup. Fructose is a totally different kind of, it's a weaponized sugar. It actually turns off the hunger cues. So when your friends are drinking a lot of Coke, it actually makes you less hungry. That's why so much is loaded with fructose. It actually turns off a child's hunger cues. So we're subsidizing that. We're subsidizing the Coke, $10 million, the sugary drinks on the food stamps. And then we're crying that it's anti-free market nanny state to question that. So we've rigged the system and then shut down debate. And as we've talked about, right, these groups are very adept, and this is happening obviously today, at paying these groups that call people racist, shut down debate, and parents concerned about their kids drinking 100 times more sugar that's subsidized by the government are racist.
What about the story we were talking about the other week with you with the Coke and NAACP?
Yeah, so this is really instructive. I mean, obviously people in 2012, when the ag bill was up for debate, were like, why are we subsidizing, with obesity rates skyrocketing among kids, Coke? And there's a 3-part playbook. It was in the room with the NAACP, the oldest and arguably most prominent civil rights group, who's done a lot of great things over American history. It's direct pay to play, and it's really a grotesque image, right? It's these PR executives, these old white PR executives from Coke, kind of very transactionally talking about how the NAACP will shut down debate. And it's just kind of grotesque, right? And it's millions of dollars. And this was reported in the New York Times at the time. And that really shifted the debate. So parents that were concerned about food stamp funding for sugar and that's 10%, $110 billion program. And let's just back up. I try to ground myself in this. This is like a, good talking point. It's kind of shocking, but like kids are on the chopping block right now. I mean, the obesity is skyrocketing, prediabetes, as I said, and what are we doing? We're loading them with SSRIs. 15% of high school seniors are on Adderall. That's a drug that was created by the Nazis to make German soldiers more effective. This book Blitzed, and actually was discontinued by the Nazis because everyone had psychosis. That literally is what 15% of kids are taking. SSRIs, now obesity, magical cures, which doesn't change the fact that they're still going to be eating, this subsidized terrible food that's going to ruin their cells. Anyway, so the NAACP, we've talked about the research institutions, and then the think tanks. I was a good young conservative growing up, interned at the Heritage Foundation, the gold standard. It was dispiriting to see that institution and others just be totally pay to play.
So it's all money, follow the money. It's sad. It's like, in 1996, when Dr. Drew was explaining to me that Big Pharma didn't want people to take 100 Vicodin a day, his argument was because it's wrong, because that would make them bad people. And I'm like, it doesn't make them bad people. They're running a business. They have to move units.
They're going to get fired if they don't grow.
That's how it works. That's how we've gone into some sort of bizarre, everybody needs to get vaccinated. We're not going to draw a distinction between people with pre-existing conditions or obesity or elderly or whatever. We're rolling out, we got to get your 4-year-old or your newborn vaccinated. And then, so where did guys like Fauci come down on in this sort of role? And like, why wasn't he saying eat right, exercise, sunshine? He was shelter in place, the first thing they shut down was the fucking gyms. And then where did all the useful idiots come from? Why do I have neighbors yelling at me to put my mask on or whatever? Listen to Fauci. Like, where did all you idiots come from? I kind of get CNN and Fox, and although Fox went the other direction with this stuff, but CNN, they're getting money from Big Pharma, so then they have their Leanna Wen has to come on there and explain why triple masking is effective and scare the fuck out of everybody. And then everyone, to me, is like Leanna Wen. She was the one who was on CNN trying to freak out every mom in America for 2 years. And it's like, well, she's changed your opinion. My comment is fuck right off. You did way too much damage. You don't get a pass just because something happened in the last 20 minutes where you decided to look at fucking data for a change.
Yeah, and on the weaponizing the media, I think just to close the point of Ozempic, the 60 Minutes shameful special, right, saying that obesity, even though it's really just a phenomenon in the past 50 years, is genetic and not based on lifestyle choice. Every doctor was on the payroll of the drug maker. The drug maker, not research, but actually just direct bribes. They've given $30 million a year for the last several years, Ozempic. And CNN is having unbiased medical people on every day that are actually on the payroll of Ozempic. But when you get to I think it's a good question, and this is something I've really been trying to figure out. When you get to the bureaucrats, these lifetime bureaucrats, this is how kind of the framework I use. Healthcare right now is the largest industry in the United States and the fastest growing, which is just crazy, right? It's you go down, drive down any town, and there's nurse recruitment signs. It's just this amoeba. And if a government bureaucrat wants to maintain power, for decades, right, it's totally interwoven with the pharmaceutical industry. The FDA, their funding directly comes from pharmaceuticals. It's 75% of the funding. The NIH is really just run by these blue ribbon panels of academics that are funded by pharma. Medical school, my sister who's really inspired me was top of her class, Stanford Medical School, surgeon, abruptly quit because she's, after this illustrious education was looking over a patient, had no idea why they were inflamed and had to have literally cut into their sinuses to take out inflammation. It was her third of the day and she had no idea what was even happening. 80% of medical schools don't even teach one nutrition class to doctors today. It's all pharmacology, and you just trace the money. It's just this amoeba, and this is the incentive I think everyone needs to understand and really embrace. We're gaslit to not ask questions about our health, but every single institution, from the NIH to medical schools to pharma companies to hospitals, they make money when people are sick, and they lose money when they're healthy, and it's just that simple. To me, it's an empowerment message. It's like chronic disease management, medicalization, it's been a disaster. Like we're all getting sicker, more infertile, fatter, more depressed. It's like we got to unplug from the system a little bit here.
Did you see that article, I think it was New York Times had years ago, about Carnegie and Rockefeller's involvement in adjusting the medical, specifically at Stanford, changing the way doctors were taught at that college and implementing a pharmaceutical approach to the way they were taught?
In the early 1900s,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, the diversification on Rockefeller, he got very into pharmaceuticals
because he had the synthetic, because he owned all the oil, and they found a way to alter the synthetic to put into all the drugs.
Exactly, and that's exactly right. And he really engineered the medical curriculum that we still practice today at Johns Hopkins. And a very interesting story there, the father of modern medicine, of the residency kind of framework and our intervention-based framework that's driven this. His name is Dr. Halstead. His portrait is hung at almost every med school. He was a cocaine addict, came out later, and manic depressive. The residency where doctors work for several days, at a time, was formed by him. But he had manic depressive episodes, and that didn't come out. So he was very aggressive. He belittled with the help of Rockefeller any other modality of kind of root cause or understand. Nutrition was not science based. So there was really a calculated, very financially driven in the early 1900s to create evidence-based medicine from Rockefeller. And that Halstead, this manic depressive who created these radical surgeries that ended up being very ineffective, he's still the foundation of medical training today.
So what about, why didn't a guy like Fauci come out and talk about diet and exercise when it was abundantly clear that this was really impacting people that were overweight early? Why wasn't that a theme that he hit early and often?
Yeah, my hypothesis, I just go back to the incentives. So my hypothesis is that the NIH and what he runs is essentially a subsidiary of pharma. It's basically a research and development funding for pharma. So him being on the good side of pharma was necessary for him being in the job for 40 years. Mm-hmm. And it was in the framework of this innovation-based, again, everything, the medical system, they don't ask how we stay healthy. It's like, how do we intervene once people are sick? So the entire focus was on an innovation-based strategy where both the government and these companies were investing billions of dollars. So you have this in all the emails. It's like we can't even talk about natural immunity because we've got to sell the product. So he's really on the hook, right? There's a real pressure, and this is instructive for anything, right? When they're funding like drug efforts, right? So there's like, he looks bad if those don't sell well, those don't do well. So that's just the incentive that applies to everything. Like this blue ribbon panel on obesity, right? It's like that's all, they're all paid off. You know, it's this cure. It's billions and billions of dollars, right? These are lifetime injections, and there's just this centrifugal force. And then, PR executives in DC figure out how to, pay off different levers of trust. And I don't blame the average person, right? You got to defer.
I do.
Yeah.
I blame them.
You got to be compliant somehow.
No, listen, here's the whole thing.
Yeah.
You should sit back. There's a couple of clips keep running through my head. I'm looking at you, Ben and Dawson. Remember we're talking about the black chick's hair, and the hair product was poisoning the ladies of color, but the MSNBC. But the second part of that was a whole it was diatribe on why you need to get your infant vaccinated. But listen, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I blame Ma and Pa Smith and the average American and the average citizen on the planet. That's all right. We'll get some brawny paper towels in here. First off, this shit ain't new. People have been talking about this kind of stuff for a long time, like big pharma and what's the government up to. And we've had plenty of Bay of Pigs and Kennedy assassinations, and you can buy it or not buy it. But the notion that your government is coming to you with a main line of factual information on all subjects, we don't have a rich history of that. So first off, everyone be a little bit of a skeptic. That's all I'm saying. Like, wake up a little, be a little bit of a skeptic. Number one. Number two, study patterns. Study patterns. I was onto this 9 days in because I would always get the age with someone who died of any event, motorcycle accident, cancer, whatever. They go, 61-year-old man died in La Habra on a freeway, whatever. When COVID rolled around, I stopped getting ages, and I immediately became suspicious. Why no ages? And the reason we didn't get ages is because it would be a 114-year-old man died in a nursing facility, but they didn't give ages. So I got suspicious. Then I started watching guys like Fauci, and Fauci started saying things like, well, no ball games and no churches, no synagogues, no gyms. But if you want to march with BLM, I don't have an opinion on that. Well, that's inconsistent. You just shut down the Astros game and the soccer game and the football game, but you have no thoughts about masses of humanity coming together in the town square. So look for inconsistent things. Look for smart guys acting dumb. When they asked Fauci about natural immunity, he's like, well, we don't really know. You don't know what natural immunity is? You who've been studying natural immunity for 57 years have no thoughts about it? Watch out when CNN becomes an expert on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine overnight. Watch out when Sanjay Gupta is like, well, it's mainly for horses. Yeah, except for 200 billion people have taken it worldwide, and you can take it when you're pregnant. It's safe to take hydroxychloroquine when you're pregnant. So when guys like Gupta don't know stuff or say stuff's for horses or stuff, be suspicious, people. Wake the fuck up. And when they tell you, wear the mask during the plane, but take it off when I give you the Fiesta mix, but then pull it back up before you take a sip of Fresca, but then you take it back down again. Be suspicious, idiots. Do not be useful idiots. That's what you guys turned into. We could have never got this off the ground without the millions of useful idiots who bought into everything, hook, line, and fucking sinker, and still do today.
They always will. There's always going to be that percentage of people who are just going to be sheeple and not want to think.
But
it
we
takes
got
a certain
to
level of
lower it.
energy.
We have to lower
We
that
do. I
percentage.
agree.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, we'll listen to the doctor on MSNBC explain. This is 5 weeks old, why you need to get your infant vaccinated.
Right. So basically, if you cannot name an ingredient, look it up to see what it is. There are plenty of apps that you can literally scan the zip or the barcode to tell you whether or not this chemicals that make up this product have been deemed safe and or more risky for you. And it needs to be pushed not only on the consumer to do background on it.
We don't need to watch the entire thing. It's the second half where she's talking about.
Right, but they went.
We're just collecting the end of the thought on the hair products causing cancer, and then we're going to get the transition.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming up.
All right.
Tell parents out there who may be hesitant, because I'm just going to acknowledge that some folks, even if they weren't themselves hesitant to get the vaccine, they may have some questions when it comes to a child under the age of 5. So speak to those parents at home. What do you want to tell them about vaccinating their children under 5 and how important that is?
Right. For one, I would hope they see that it did take a long time before this was rolled out, because first, safety had to be verified. And that is most important. The second thing I want them to know is oftentimes this was stated early on that kids are protected. But what we know is that 6 times the number of kids died from COVID than the flu this past year. Right. We had 600 children who are no longer with us from 2021 because of COVID-19. And there is now a method that you can use to help protect your child from being hospitalized and keep them alive to see next year, right? And what we know is that we're getting more and more variants, that this is not a time to let down our guard, that we now have BA4 and BA5 that are coming out of South Africa. We're looking at that. And how do we stay ahead of the game? And there's a saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Keep your kids vaccinated, make sure they're wearing those masks, and practice those same mitigating factors that we've been doing now for 2.5 years.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah. Right. Oh, no, we got to keep going, because she's talking about organ damage, and like 80% of long-term people that get it, remember, long hauler COVID. Yeah. Listen to what this crazy witch doctor said.
And remember, this is a piece about hair.
It started as a piece about black ladies with their hair, but they end up spending more time on getting your kid vaccinated. The first 3 minutes was hair relaxer. The next 4.5 minutes was a commercial for Pfizer. But play the rest. Just because
there's a saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Keep your kids vaccinated, make sure they're wearing those masks, and practice those same mitigating factors that we've been doing now for 2.5 years.
Can you also speak to the question about long-term impacts of COVID infections on children versus, some questions about long-term side effects of the vaccine?
Right. And it's one of those things that the anti-vax movement has done a fantastic job at stoking those fears. What we do know is that COVID-19 is linked to a number of different disease processes that we can already trace. They say, well, you can't tell the long-term consequences of the vaccine. Well, yes, we can. In Q time, I've got my vaccine back in December 2020, right? I was the first person at the University of Virginia. We've now been able to track persons like me to see what has happened. Has anything changed? But what we also know is that we're tracking people who have COVID-19, children and adults alike. And what we know is that 1 in every 5 persons who've been infected with COVID-19 now has a lingering disability where their organs, their heart, their lungs, their kidneys, their brain is no longer functioning in the same way that it was before they got infected with COVID-19.
20%.
And when you take that developing child whose organs have not come to what it's going to be for the rest of their life, and you stress it out, and you put it on that treadmill and say, I want you to sprint, what does that do for the longevity of their life, not only in the quantity of their life and whether or not they will live a full life as we hope to live, but the quality of their life? What are the complications associated with that inflammatory response? So,
all right,
Calley's hurting right now.
I'm having a seizure. I'm having a seizure.
I watched this 2 months ago. This is not 2019. This is 2 months ago. They're doing a fucking commercial for Pfizer. Yeah. They didn't even do the segment. The segment is hair. They did more on the commercial front. Long-term organ damage. What the fuck is she talking about?
Not even getting into the vaccine situation. This is what really physically just pains me about this. Having a new son is it is astronomical what's happening with autoimmune conditions are skyrocketing among kids. Allergies, diabetes. I mean, you never had a kid in the career of a diabetes doctor, never saw a kid. It's called adult onset diabetes. They've changed that.
Yes.
It's 25% of teenagers now. Every diabetes. It's like there's this absolute destruction happening. It has nothing to do with this. The kids are being born in utero to a high degree with metabolic dysfunction because it can be passed on from the parents. I was saying earlier, I was born at 12 pounds. A lot of kids are born overweight now, which represents that I had metabolic dysfunction at birth, which really sets you up for a bad situation. But that then we're pounding our kids with antibiotics because they're getting sicker and sicker. It's hurting their microbiome. It's hurting their cells. So just like the fact that it's just this one little niche instead of the underlying situation, which is we're really poisoning our kids with a diet. It's unconscionable.
The genetic conversation is very dangerous too, because if we're going to have the genetic familial disposition conversation, we also have to have the environmental and nutritional conversation, because essentially the nutritional aspect caused the genetic issue. So if you have this genetic predisposition to have diabetes, well then where did your parents get it? Where did your parents' parents get it? It's like if you're predispositioned to, have these traumas that are handed down from your parents, well, there was an event that caused all of that. So there must have been some sort of event down the line, historically. Hilarious!
Start talking about parents.
Oscar performance.
Your parents, parents.
Yeah.
That's a code word.
But isn't there I keep going. But what I'm saying is diabetes being genetic sounds like bullshit to me.
This is very and again, I don't know why I'm the one having to say it. If any doctor can question this, I'd be happy to have this conversation. If you do not eat added sugar, if you look at your label and do not eat added sugar, there is almost a 0% chance you're going to get diabetes, right? And it goes to your personal choice thing. I mean, the one thing I just add to what you said, Adam, I'm a big personal choice guy. But you look at a public space, 80% of adults being obese, just people doing just mass decimating their bodies and really actually hurting their kids. I mean, what you look at, drugs are powerful. We have made our food into drugs, and I think there is a real systemic situation. I think it's got to be a bottoms-up revolution. People need to wake up and start asking questions. But if we are drugging our food, 80% of the country isn't systematically trying to shorten their lives, but that's what's happening.
All right.
Is there a country that's sorry? Oh, go ahead.
You got a clock in front of you.
I know,
right?
but
all right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll do more of this conversation with Calley Means right after this. All right. Jessimae's here. Max Pata, the interrupter.
Yeah.
And Calley Means is here.
I'm my own Ranchera music for him.
It's a very important subject. Chris has a question, but me first, or a statement. I get what everyone is doing. I get pharma, and I get Fauci. It's everyone else that's driving me nuts. That's got to drive this revolution the other direction. First things first, everyone. Diet and exercise. Your fucking grandparents. Your grandparents, great-grandparents, the founding fathers, they know it. Stop it. There are no free lunches in nature. Wake up. Understand. Little common sense. A little horse sense, everybody. Y'all, I'm going to eat Weight Watchers, dietetic fudge. It's not going to work. Figure it out. And it drives me nuts that this isn't. I get the people that are bought and paid for, but what about the sort of local, what's going on in the schools? You know what I mean? Why aren't they hitting this hard at that level? Why don't we have the information? All right.
If a school did that, wouldn't they be shamed and then they just point it out? And how do you start something like that?
I get it, but when I was 7, I understood the difference between eating an apple and eating a piece of cake. Everyone understands that. But we would like to have the piece of cake versus the apple. And there's, now Lizzo has told us it's okay to eat the piece of cake versus the apple. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of in the crossroads of that. But how come more people didn't instinctively know more things about COVID or the spread of COVID or diet and exercise or health and the facts? Isn't this sort of no duh versus no shit? Why are so many people so blissfully ignorant? Or do they just want the junk food that bad? Because they're hooked on it. It's junky food at this point. They're in it. Homeless people sleep outside in the rain because they want to do drugs. It's not because there's no shelter beds for them. Right. It's because the drugs are physically more important to them than shelter is. That's why they're outside. I feel in a weird way that's almost going on with food in a lot of people. I mean, it is a driving force for a lot of people I know. It's powerful.
Sugar's addictive. It's so addictive. And I always feel like, thinking back, talking about growing up, we were forced all these messages and commercials about sugar cereal and sugary foods, breads and all of that, and salt was like demonized.
Right.
Yeah. But salt essentially isn't nearly as bad for us as sugar.
It's crazy. I would just go back to dopamine being a hell. I mean, that is what drives our lives. And I think we've kind of defaulted our definition of what a drug is, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we get up, right? We check our phones. That's dopamine. We get a coffee. People are watching porn. We go and drink alcohol at the end of the day. It's just like everything. Our literally day is like just day to day going and getting the next dopamine hit. And sugar is a highly powerful. It's like if you gave us heroin every morning against our will, in a couple of weeks we'd be addicted. It's like this is what's happening to kids. You look at a kid's birthday party with a bunch of 3-year-olds around a cake. It's like a bunch of meth addicts. And we are addicting, we're weaponizing the kids. This is very new. And again, it's systematic dysfunction. So I think we need to understand that. I mean, it starts, I'm actually heartened by the biowearable revolution. This is very early, but in many states in the United States, still to this day, a patient can't legally have their medical records. We've totally just walled off any. It's like you're getting sick. We're here with the answer. But I think there's this. I think actually COVID, some good things did happen. The elites were shown that they have absolutely no clothes here. And I think tens of millions of Americans are waking up. They're buying these biowearables. They're trying to understand what's going on inside their body. I think this is a bottoms-up revolution, but I do think underneath the surface there's a lot, you're talking about it, a lot of folks are. So, but it's got to be bottoms up there. We've got to try to understand what's going on.
I wonder if the phone and the dopamine, I've been loosely having these ideas kind of run through my head, and I sort of picture sort of old America, because I'm older than everyone in this building, and sort of new America. And we had long swaths of time in between wanting something and gratification or satisfaction. Like there was, when I grew up, it was Christmas and birthday. That was it. I was born at the end of May, so Christmas and birthday were kind of split the year. But it was 6 months in between getting shit that I wanted, not showing up Amazon at the door every day. And you were talking about the phone, and I was sort of thinking about, as a kid, leaving the house at 8 a.m. and not coming back till 8 p.m, and there was nothing in between, suck off a hose in the neighbor's yard or whatever. We actually, where I grew up, there'd be like apricot trees and peach trees. You'd just get off your bike, eat some apricots off of someone's tree, and then get back, drink something off the hose, and then go back to it. And I've noticed that this gap, which used to be a big gap, Christmas and your birthday, and the months in between were the months you had to wait for whatever shit that you wanted, And I started noticing with people like hitting off water bottles or like carrying around a coffee everywhere and just sucking off the water. And you go into meetings and you sit down in Century City or on a 41st floor sitting in air conditioning, and someone comes in, water? Does everyone need water? Yeah, because the elevator ride, I'm completely depleted. I have no salt left in my body for getting into that elevator. And it's like water. And I'm guilty of it too. You start looking at your phone. So this time between this little dopamine, whatever, has been compressed. It used to be years. You had to build a cabin, and it was going to take you 2 years to build the cabin or whatever. And then it got tightened up, birthday to Christmas. Then it got shorter and shorter with like sort of fast food, and then drive-throughs fast food, and then Grubhub, like bring it to your door. The window, and I wonder if the phone, you checking on it every 9 minutes just shrinks that dopamine window. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, look at the phone, hit a coffee, what are we eating tonight? It's like this constant, like, can't stop literally putting something in my mouth. Like, people are walking around sucking on vape things, drinking their coffee, looking at their phone. Like, it's been so compressed. And basically what you're saying to them is, we know you love Jack in the Box, but you got to give it a few weeks. Like, a few weeks. I'm ordering it now.
That's open 24 hours.
And I don't know that we're ever going to get around. If we don't address that, we're never going to fix any of the shit we're talking about. And by the way, that applies to studying and getting degrees and delayed gratification. And then what the politicians have figured out, like that story that was in Virginia recently where they just went, we're not going to let the kids who are on the honor roll know they're on the honor roll because we don't want to shame the other kids. And that, if you're going to start fucking with math scores and stuff now it's completely on and out the window.
Yeah. And I think, it's so simple what you're saying. And it's just like, when you say it like that, it's like, how is this not the foundation of how we're thinking about human public policy? It's our brains, right? It's our brains are totally evolutionarily out of whack. Now, there's some great advancements in the past 100 years, but you look at just the foundation of what impacts our reality, how we perceive the world. It's food is number one. Our sleep is totally out of whack. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. The sedentary behavior among kids. You talk about schools. We are not evolutionarily designed to be sit in a sunless box, kids for 8 hours, right? And then there's absolute fireworks going on in the brain with all of the stimulation that we have. To me, it's very simple. It's evolutionarily unprecedented for our brains. And then that goes to interpret our realities. If our cells and our brains are malfunctioning a little bit, obviously then you have mass increase. The number 2 cause of death for a teenager right now is suicide. It's off the charts.
It's not COVID.
It's suicide. And, 25% of young adults, according to the CDC, during COVID, contemplated suicide.
And that dopamine roller coaster has to feed into that, causing depression and probably some delusionment.
And it's just like, okay, so we're let's, and everyone's profiting from that. Right.
All right.
A hospital is the largest employer in the majority of U.S. states. I was in Texas recently, and the governor of Texas, a conservative, was praising and bragging that the Texas Medical Center in Houston could be seen from space. It's like, I don't know if that's a good thing. But it's seen as this jobs program. So everyone's kind of winning, everyone's profiting. Politicians are doing fine. Both parties are getting. But it's like, our brains are just like under assault. It's just that simple. And until we realize that from public policy, until we like fundamentally ask it. And to me, it gets to something I would have thought was sounded very soft years ago. But it's like, we have to like feed ourselves better food. We have to like think about that it's personal responsibility. But it's like a person in this country has trillions of dollars, $4 trillion health system, $6 trillion food system. It is totally against them. So, I think it's personal responsibility, but it's got to get to some systemic change because we're just not going to drug our way out of the situation. I mean, it really is existential. And we're talking about stoves.
Yeah, we're talking about stoves.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So first things first, just no free lunches in nature. There's no pills. They'll work temporarily, then they won't work. And then you'll have to take more pills. And that's just the way it works. It's just... If it sounds too good to be true, it's too easy, when people do this thing where they go, I got the lobster bisque sub at Subway for $2. It sucked. And I'm like, yeah, because there's no such thing as a lobster sandwich for $2. Right. Yeah, but it was $2. Like, it's like, yeah, because it can't work. Yeah. There's a math that can't work.
Live in reality here.
You taking pills cannot work to affect your mood and your weight and your disposition and everything else. It just won't. It can't. It can do it for 10 minutes. And then also understand everybody is selling something, and sadly the government is in on the fix. That's the part you didn't know. You knew what Pfizer was doing. You didn't know what Fauci was doing, and you didn't know what CNN was doing. You thought Fauci and CNN were reporting, and then Pfizer was just, their company. They're going to do what they're going to do. You didn't know everyone was in on it. So you're going to have to start sort of collecting your own data, and you're going to have to start getting suspicious when people are pulled off the internet or dragged through the town square and tarred and feathered for saying things like, don't close schools, you're going to hurt the kids. And you have to understand who's speaking for who. Like, who says open the schools or close the schools? Well, if you have the head of the LA Unified School District union member saying close schools, and then you have the anonymous doctor from Stanford saying, I think it'd be a bad idea. Well, he doesn't have a dog in the fight. He's just an expert who's weighing in. You have a bunch of constituents and union members, and you've got a whole thing. So start looking at who's getting paid and how they're getting paid. But it reminded me years ago when my son was first born. He's 16 and a half now. He's a beautiful head. Beautiful head, as Trump would say. When he was born, the doctor said, his skull may be a little misshaped. Maybe a little misshaped. Maybe you could use one of those corrective helmets, whatever. Now, I, as the guy who grew up with not a human being in any school I ever went to who had a peanut allergy, I would raise my hand and go, how come nobody I ever met had a peanut allergy and no kid I ever went to school with, not to mention the peanut-free zones they've cordoned off and everything. And now 31% of kids have peanut allergies or asthma or diabetes or whatever we're talking about. How could this be? How can this be? So no one ever knew wore a corrective helmet. And now my kid gets recommended the corrective helmet. And I'm talking to people. I was talking to Joel McHale. It's like, Mike, they did a helmet for my kid too. We did it up like the
my friends are doing
Seattle Seahawks, like whatever. And then I was like, he looks fine to me, and nobody. And the physician said his glasses may not sit right on his face, like Mr. Potato Head got run over or something. Glasses skewed. And I was like, that doesn't. Now, here's the component that we're not talking about because nobody wants shit. They get the wives involved. The women have become fucking hysterics, and they're going nuts with the fucking women. And the women set the agenda for the household. There's no possible way when the craniologist says to my wife, this kid needs a helmet. You think I'm going to fight that battle or win that battle? Nope. It's impossible. And when they start talking about COVID and Purell and wiping things down and not when the crazy bitch on CNN, they're talking to all the women. And the women are going fucking nuts, and they've been weaponized, and now they're setting the agenda for the home because the guy's not going to be able to push through any kind of policy. She's got the agenda. So they say to the wife, he needs a helmet or his sunglasses aren't going to sit right on his head. I then do the move where I go, I've never heard of this. No one I knew ever had this. I think this is a scam. I don't know what they're talking about. He looks fine to me, by the way. I don't see any problem with his skull. Oh, no. We are going to the specialist and getting him outfitted with a special helmet that's $5,000 for a fucking skateboard helmet with a little extra padding. It's $5,000, and then we get the helmet on, and he has to wear it 19 hours out of the day, and he doesn't last 10 minutes with the helmet on because he's sweating and crying, and we take the helmet off and throw it away. But that's the scam. And it seems pretty innocuous, but now blow it up about 10 million times bigger with pharma and everything else. All the drugs they want to feed the kids. I went in, we talked to a specialist. He said, I needed to get on a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. The doctor recommended that he have a dose of whatever. You're not going to do that battle at home. You're not going to be the guy who says, you know what? Get up early. Let's go for a hike. We'll do some push-ups. Then we'll take a cold dunk and we'll listen to Wagner. It'd be like, you'll be divorced in 10 seconds. So I think a lot of this is getting the housewives and the ladies in, freaking them the fuck out, and then selling them all the helmets and the drugs.
It's huge. Fear, and just to get a little bit metaphysical here, but fear has been weaponized by a systemic degree, which I think is having huge societal impacts because we're just having less awe and curiosity about our bodies. like we're just in constant state of fear, and that's not a environment for thriving. Just a personal story there, real quick. As I mentioned, kind of the foundational. My mom getting pancreatic cancer. She died 13 days later, and the medical system was nowhere where she had all these warning signs, but then it's, we need to do this. We need to do this intervention, this intervention, this intervention. And it was going to be a lot of surgeries, COVID, she would have been alone. And we asked, my sister thankfully asked, well, what's the chances of these interventions helping? They're like, well, 50%, it's going to actually decrease her life, and maybe it'll increase it a week. So we said no. And those 13 days were the most profound and important days of our lives. In the final days with my mother. It truly like changed me as a person, watching how she dealt with death, sat in the house, read hundreds of letters from people that she's impacted in her life. In her life, for 99.9% of people, you're dealing with cancer, right? It's like, oh, of course, it's like the doctors were shocked that we were, and it turns out the biopsy, the surgery that they would have done, it would have taken much more than 13 days to get that back. They wouldn't have even had the results, and she would have had to be in the COVID ward, not seeing us, died alone. So it's just time after, but it's fear.
Yes.
It's just like that was the most important time of my life. Most other people, because how do you say no to a doctor at that point? And they use that not consciously. These were the top oncologists in the world at Stanford, and they don't think they're evil, but it's a system, and they are reprimanded. Their job and salary is tied to interventions that lost the hospital hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So understanding that, I do think moms are waking up. From my little small perch on this tweet, I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of messages from moms. Something's not right when you look into a classroom right now and what's happening to kids. And I do think a lot of moms are waking up.
I wonder how much of this is sort of the death of religion. And what I mean is I'm not a religious person, but I understand it serves a purpose and kind of keeps people in a different headspace. And you take something like Fauci and COVID and all the stuff we're kind of talking about, it almost turns into a religion for atheists. They literally had St. Fauci candles and stuff like that. Now, I'll guarantee no religious people bought a Fauci candle done up like the Virgin Guadalupe, but those were all non-religious people. And the people I know that went the hardest into COVID and all the nonsense of COVID, like he's not wearing a mask outside on the horse trail and stuff like that, those were all atheists. Those are non-religious people. I think a lot of the damage is as religion wanes, there's a vacuum and something else replaces it, and that something else is not good. And that's part of what we're living right now. We saw it sort of supersized with COVID. It became a religion. Well, and with all the tenets of a religion, like if that guy doesn't want to get vaccinated, then he shouldn't be allowed to come back to work. And they shouldn't be allowed in hospitals if you're going to put us in danger. Like it took on all the worst characteristics of a religion in like 10 seconds.
It's a different kind of conformity that we're falling into.
And all those people became celebrities. Fauci became, instead of like someone who's speaking, he was a celebrity to people. He was, idolized. These people were idolized. Every single person who's talking during that time became idoled.
It's so... Michael Avenatti, the guy who's rotting in prison right now, been arrested under the RICO Act, he turned into a religious deity for all the bitches at The View. They talked about him with a religious fervor.
Did you see his jawline, though?
Yes, good looking. All right, Jessimae, why don't you ask Calley a long-winded question and talk about your feelings as a woman and trusting having an instinct as a woman.
Okay.
And then Dawson, get ready.
So I know there's a lot of misinformation out there. I get most of mine from Instagram. I feel like that's a reputable place. And I'm just confused as to like the whole sugar of it all, because honestly, I don't see a problem with sugar.
Done. All right, let's see. Calley Means,
Yes, sir.
Where do we find you? Sorry, I got two bios on you.
Yeah, so we're working on a company to change these incentives. I do think there are a couple answers, but we asked how do we incentivize food, and there is a way to do that. We have the $150 billion in these HSA, FSA accounts, and we're working to allow people to spend tax-free money on food. So it's True Medicine, DocCare, and Twitter, Calley Means, trying to expose, been talking to some very interesting people. I mean, Bill Ackman retweeted this, called for a class action lawsuit. We're in touch with some members of Congress on congressional investigation. So it is gratifying to be a small part of pushing this forward, and we're tweeting a lot there at Calley Means.
Yeah. And a stout fuck off to everyone who's like, why are you bugging these people and wanting to know what happened? Like, we want to know. I want to know. I don't want to have to listen to these people again. I don't want this to happen again. Mm-hmm. We should know what happened. If something happened, if the government was colluding with big tech to stifle people and get them fired and get them destroyed, the reputation destroyed, I would like to know about that relationship. That's all. And if nothing happened, then nothing happened. So you can look into things,
right,
and then you can find nothing,
right.
And then you can move on. So if there isn't anything, but there will be, there'll be tons of it, then I would like to know. That's all.
Same.
Jessimae Peluso, podcast Sharp Tongue, wherever you listen to finer podcasts. Dates coming up, Omaha Funny Bone, February 3rd and the 4th, and then the Comedy Store. That's in La Jolla, California. That's Valentine's Day. Jessimae.com is where you go. Always good to see you, Jessimae.
Thanks for having me back.
Me everywhere. Palm Beach and Baltimore and Raleigh and Naples. Just go down Carolla.com. We'll see you in Dallas coming up this weekend. And until next time, this is Adam Carolla, Chris Max Pata, Jessimae Peluso, and Calley Means saying mahalo.